My name is Mike Mavridis. I'm making this video for the exclusive use of Toledo School for the Arts. And this video will present my techniques for playing flute with electric music. By that I mean modern blues, jazz, rock and roll. And there are very specific problems playing an acoustic wind instrument like the flute or the saxophone with loud electric instruments. It's an entirely different skill set playing through a microphone rather than playing symphonic music or dance band music or small combo jazz, blues without amplification. Amplification brings all sorts of extra problems. Articulation is very important when playing electric music. A lot of loud instruments in the mix tends to make it hard to hear the separate notes that we're playing. And so it's important for any instrument, guitar, bass guitar, drums, it's important to articulate. It's important to make the definition of the notes as clear and crisp as possible. It just helps things to not become muddied up when they're done through amplification. So it's necessary in practicing to learn to tongue everything very sharply, very crisply. This will also help playing funk music or Latin music, reggae, anything with a sophisticated beat, especially when it comes to double tonguing and triple tonguing. Everything needs to be as clear and crisp as possible. And that leads us to certain techniques that are useful with rock and roll and blues specifically, also jazz. The use of hum tone and the flutter tone, which were pioneered in loud electric music by Ian Anderson during his many years and many albums with Jethro Tull. The hum tone is an important technique when playing flute with electric music. Ian Anderson did not actually invent the hum tone. He perfected it for playing with loud, extremely loud rock and roll music. But it was actually first introduced in the jazz world by a couple of players in the early 60s, early and mid 60s, by the name of Yusef Lateef and Rahsaan Roland Kirk, who utilized the hum tone with playing flute with jazz. Hum tone requires overtones. Basically, an overtone is one of the physical properties of music whereby the various tones in the harmonic series, otherwise known as the overtone series of notes, is one of the physical aspects of music. All these tones are present when playing an instrument. They're all different according to the instrument. The overtones on a saxophone are different from the overtones on a flute. The overtones on a guitar are totally different. Those are the things that make up the particular tonal qualities of the instrument. Now, at this point, I'm going to cut away to a diagram showing the four overtones, the four harmonic notes that we're going to be utilizing in practicing the flute and learning how to play the hum tones. So I'm going to cut away to that right here. All right, what you're looking at here is the overtone series for flute, starting on low C below the staff. Roman numeral 1 is the tonic. Roman numeral 2 is also called the first overtone. That's an octave higher. The second overtone, labeled Roman numeral 3, is a perfect fifth above that, which is the G above the staff. And then a perfect fourth above that is the third overtone, which is labeled Roman numeral 4 on the chart. And that's the second octave, obviously. That's C above the staff. Now, the overtones go up further than that, but they're not really useful very much when you're performing music. Really, you can only hum one note and play one other note. So these 4 notes in the overtone series are really the only ones that we're really worried about too much when we're practicing flute. But you can actually hit notes above that C above the staff while fingering the low C. If you're, really utilizing your breath support properly. Okay, having looked at the chart and seen the 4 notes of the overtone sequence, then the only thing that remains is to demonstrate that it's possible to play all 4 of those notes without ever moving my fingers off of the low C position on the flute. Now I actually hit a note higher than the high C above the staff. It's possible to keep right on going up, but it gets harder and harder. It requires more and more breath support. Now it needs to be understood also that in addition to supporting the tone really solid, what we're doing is we're directing the tone. We're directing the column of air, down for the original note, and then higher and higher. I'm actually tensing my embouchure, also making a tighter embouchure as I go up. In performance, you only have to worry about playing one note and humming the octave below it, which is what Ian Anderson was doing. Okay. Another technique that Ian Anderson used is the flutter tone. Flutter tone is best accomplished. Some people can do flutter tone on a saxophone and I suppose on a flute also by utilizing their tongue and wagging their tongue really fast. Frankly, I cannot do that. I'm physically encumbered from doing that. My tongue is attached very close to the tip, so I cannot do that. I learned a long time ago, when I first started doing Jethro Tull licks on the flute, I learned to do it in a different way, which is actually much better. It's much more easily controlled. It has to do with gargling in the back of the throat. And then with your breath, you push that up into the back of your mouth. Which is also a good demonstration of how you are actually directing the column of air. You're not just supporting the tone, you're moving the column of air up and down. You can demonstrate this to yourself by raising your chin for high notes, dropping your chin this way for low notes. It's like if you are singing, if you have you have a voice that's natural in the tenor range, which is more or less like my voice is more or less in the tenor range. You want to hit a note that's lower than your range down in the baritone. You can drop your chin all the way down on your chest, and you can reach for a lower note way down below your natural range. It's basically what you're doing on the flute. Okay, all of the notes have the sequence of overtones. So I'm playing A on the staff. And of course, in performance. We're not worried about the whole overtone sequence. We're only worried about one note an octave below what you're playing, and that's what you're humming. You can hum any note. Now, Jethro Tull, when he was playing with, or Ian Anderson rather, when he was playing with Jethro Tull, he would do a lot of vocalizing, and not just humming a note. He would actually be bringing out his voice louder than the note on the flute. This is also where the microphone comes into play with electric music. Playing through a microphone is a totally different skill set than just playing the instrument acoustically. Although anything that you do with the microphone can be done acoustically and should be practiced acoustically, so that we can do the hum tone, we can do the flutter tone and all that fancy stuff very softly. Also, you will notice that all these notes are very staccato, very tightly, crisply tongued. That also is a good method for playing loud music, loud electric music. And here again, the microphone is being utilized to pick up those notes in just the right way. And when we get into a different video how to play with a microphone, there are different locations on the mic as far as where you locate the flute, where you locate your embouchure in relation to the mic, in relation to the sweet spot on the mic, to get different sounds. And that is what Ian Anderson taught us as far as playing the flute with loud electric music. Okay? Okay. The next video I do will concern the saxophone, how to transfer a lot of the things that playing the flute can teach us about breath control, and transferring that to the saxophone, which is an entirely different animal as far as how you deal with your breath support. And so that's it for this video. Thank you for listening, and I hope this has been a profitable, enjoyable, and worthwhile project for all of us. Thank you.